I'm very pleased to have Bruce Cumings with us. He teaches at the University of Chicago. He's the author of The Korean War and has several articles that you will probably want to look up. His latest article is A Murderous History of Korea, and that appears in the London Review of Books in May. And he has an op-ed that's going to be published by The Guardian in London, which right now has the title, A Tale Told by an Idiot. Today we're going to analyze the dangerously escalating tensions between the United States and North Korea that's heightened by these early morning tweets from President Trump warning that the U.S. is locked and loaded, and should North Korea make any moves toward Guam, well, that would be unwise. Bruce Cumings brings to us this crucial historical perspective that'll help us understand North Korea's development of a nuclear deterrent. And we should probably just say outright that the U.S. carpet bombed North Korea in the Korean War, and he calls Trump's callous and cavalier threats the most irresponsible thing that President Trump has ever said since becoming president, and that's really saying a lot. Well, with all that, Bruce Cumings, welcome to Jacobin Radio.
Thank you, Susie.
Trump has issued one after another provocative warning of military action against North Korea, all within the space of about a week. And now, of course, he's saying that they're on the edge of military action. So how do you think that that's received there, and what do you think of these tweets?
Well, I think the North Korean leadership, which is not just Kim Jong-un, but a whole host of generals and elders who, are in their 70s and 80s. You see them standing with Kim Jong-un on the platform in Pyongyang. These people went through the Korean War, which was for them a Holocaust. Probably 2 million North Koreans died, and much of the dying came because of American bombing. The U.S. had control of the air basically for 3 years and leveled every North Korean city, leveled them to a degree greater than Japan and Germany's cities that were firebombed in World War II, according to official U.S. Air Force histories. Every North Korean knows this. Older North Koreans lost relatives during this bombing campaign. And so you're dealing with a wounded country, even though they constantly bluster and try to put on a very brave front, a really wounded country that went through a terrible trial. And now President Trump, in his, as you said, or as I said, callous and cavalier way, is taunting them like a bully, and talking about the United States being a hyperpower, not just a superpower. And, here's a country that may be belligerent and very difficult and hard to understand, but it is just a small country. And so I think what President Trump is doing is just utterly reprehensible. It is the worst thing he's done since he became president, but of course, as you indicated, that's, quite a long list of misbehavior on his part.
But this, as you just said, Bruce Cumings, is really dangerous because it's nuclear bluster. It's not just off-the-cuff remarks that he made, say, at Mar-a-Lago or having dinner. This time it's far more serious. But it's backed, and I'm really glad that you began with some of the other people in power, because the United States seems to caricature North Korea as a kind of family dynasty, which it is, but there's other people behind this dynasty. And you mentioned, I think it's in your article in the London Review of Books, that some of them, are veterans or their children are veterans from that war, and that this has been going on for a long time. And of course, it just raises the question, why? I mean, I'm glad you bring in this sense of history, but is this sort of like, okay, we're going to defeat a vanquished foe, a small country that's hopelessly behind the times, and if it didn't have this deterrent, would be of little significance in the world?
Well, Trump is, I actually think he's a megalomaniac. I think he's mentally ill. He sees himself at the center of everything and cannot even take taunts from a minor power like North Korea. So that's just very dangerous. The New York Times quoted an anonymous White House staffer yesterday or the day before saying that Trump thinks his advisors don't really understand Kim Jong-un the way that Trump does, and Trump thinks that Kim Jong-un likes to push people around, and so he's going to show him that here's somebody that can't be pushed around. It's a kind of grade school or barroom mentality And as you said, it's not as if we're talking about fistfights. We're talking about possible nuclear war. And it's just a kind of genocidal idea to threaten a small country with fire and fury. These were nuclear. He was talking about nuclear war, not just conventional war, and actually used a phrase that's very similar to what Harry Truman used in the hours after Hiroshima was hit by an atomic bomb and before Nagasaki was hit. He said basically the same words to the effect that the world has never seen the kind of fire and ruin that's going to descend on Japan. And to evoke that with another Asian country is just absolutely reprehensible.